This week, I decided I would switch things up a little bit since it is the first week of a new month and the first month of a new quarter. So I'm finally getting around to sit down and film this video where I am talking you through how I am planning content with Notion in 2025. If you are new here, last year I shared a video where I showed how I use Notion to plan content. Obviously, Notion is so open-ended. There's so much that you can create with Notion. And every year as my business grows and my workflow changes, I have tweaked and changed how I use it to plan different things that I do in my business. And the main thing that I use Notion for consistently is planning content. I create content for a lot of different platforms and for a lot of different reasons. And this year especially, I have been really lucky to get to work with some really fun brands on brand collaborations. And I want my content to, one, be consistent, as in I'm consistently showing up on all of these different places, and two, be cohesive in that it fits into the world of my work. So my visual brand and what I am about. It's really important to me to create a planner that helps me do that so that I don't feel like I am going a little bit crazy trying to figure out what I need to post, where I need to post it, what I need to film, and what I need to edit. And Notion has helped me do that. Let me show you my updated 2025 Notion content planning system, which is so much more than just a planner. It is much more of a workflow. So if you are someone who has been struggling with content creation consistency, I hope that this content planning system is going to help you out, because honestly, it has been a game changer for me planning a workflow, not just planning content. So let's go over to Notion and get into it. Okay, this is my brand new content creation dashboard here on Notion. It's not very different to my old content creation dashboard, but I have made some changes and tweaks to it to kind of simplify it to focus more on a workflow plan and not just planning content. So the first section of my content planner is a weekly content planning routine. And this is really just for me to quickly plan out a weekly routine and stick to it. So every time that I show up to my Notion planner to plan out my content or to look at the content that I have planned, I can also look at how that's going to fit in with my weekly routine. Now, I've kind of left this in here as an example. This isn't the exact routine that I use every single week, because obviously this routine will change depending on what projects I'm working on. In general, I personally prefer to have like my content creation and preparation days at the start of the week on Monday or Tuesday, because that way I have things edited and ready to post later in the week. The content routine is not just about creating content as well. Something that's really important to me when it comes to creating content is also building that community and that engagement. So part of my weekly content routine is making sure that I update my stories more regularly, putting in a reminder to reply to my comments, DMs, and emails. I bundle them all together now because it's really important to me to respond to all of my comments and all of my DMs, because community is a massive part of the reason that I create content, to create community around my artwork, to create a community for my students that I mentor and teach. You can't really have community if the comments and messages are only going one way and you're not answering them. So if you are guilty of ignoring your DM inbox or not replying to all of your comments, I totally get it. But the truth is, it's something that you just have to make part of your routine. Put them into your content creation workflow, make them a non-negotiable, and eventually they will just become like habit and routine. Next section of my content workflow planner is the actual content plan. Now, this is very similar to my content planner from last year, but I have tweaked and changed a few things. This year, I'm really just allowing myself to repurpose a lot of content, because I've come to the realization that it's okay to repurpose the same content in different spaces, because you're just increasing the likelihood that more of your audience are going to see it. Especially with algorithms nowadays, even if someone follows you on all of the platforms where you show up, they might not see that content on all of the platforms where they watch your content. So I've started repurposing my Instagram Reels and my TikTok videos and turning them into YouTube Shorts. So this particular planner is set up for this idea of repurposing and not like reinventing the wheel for every platform that you want to show up on. At the top of the content planner, I have 2 filter options in here. When I'm planning, I always plan using a filter. So if I turn off my filters at the moment, you can see all of the content that I have planned. Not everything is in for April because I haven't sat down and done April's plan yet, but you can see that there are some platforms that I've already planned ahead for April, like Patreon, for example, which you would have seen in my last video. I also have some of my YouTube content already planned for this month, but then when it comes to Instagram and TikTok, I haven't really sat down and planned the rest of the month yet, but you can see some examples of like when a plan is more filled out, that there's like a lot going on in one day. And so that can be very overwhelming to look at, which is why filters are your best friend. So what I like to do when I'm planning or I'm like creating content or I'm like figuring out what I need to post today is to use my filters. So for example, if I'm planning ahead for my YouTube content for the month, I will filter everything by YouTube, and this will show me everything that I've already planned. Now, sometimes if I've already also planned out my short content, so you can see there's only like 1 short left in from like the end of March here. But sometimes when I've also planned out my short content, I'm gonna see like a lot more going on in this plan, which is where my second filter comes in really handy, which is filtering by content type. So here I've added a ton of different formats that content can take across multiple different platforms to help you filter your content and tag it also as you're planning it. So I put like everything: polls, community posts, videos, like standard posts, story post, carousel post, short, reel, podcast, or live stream. So with YouTube, I'm gonna filter it by video. Now it's gonna hide the short content. It's not deleting them. I just don't have to look at them right now, so I can just look at my YouTube plan. I also do the same for Instagram and TikTok. Usually I'll like plan them separately. I don't think I have anything left in at the moment for my Instagram plan. But usually with Instagram and TikTok, I will plan one or the other because I usually repurpose, and then I will add the other one in. So let's say today is Wallpaper Wednesday. I'm gonna imagine that I'm gonna post a Wallpaper Wednesday draw with me. Because I've filtered, it's already gonna automatically pick up the platform as Instagram, but if I wanted to change it, I could by clicking on that. Then I'm going to choose the content type. Because it's for Instagram, I'm going to select that it is a reel. So that is my Wallpaper Wednesday draw with me. So I can now hide this. I also need to turn off my content filter from video. That is why I wasn't seeing any Instagram posts. Lo and behold, there are some here. So let's imagine this is our content plan for Instagram for the next week. All of these are reels, but I might also want to plan in some carousel posts or standard posts. Normally what I do is I'll plan out my Instagram content, and then I'll go back to my platform filter and I'll also tick TikTok. So again, you can see there's some TikTok videos left in here from last month. So originally the planner unboxing was supposed to go up on Monday the 31st. Now in this new plan, my planner unboxing is going up on Instagram on Monday the 7th. So what I would do is drag this TikTok version of that video over to Tuesday the 8th. So I would post it as a reel on Monday the 7th, and then the next day I would post that same video on TikTok as a TikTok video. But this just allows me to plan in a way that I'm not creating and planning content specifically for each platform, but rather planning it for one platform, which feels like my primary platform, which is usually Instagram for short form content, and then repurposing that onto my other platforms that I like to show up, like TikTok and YouTube Shorts. I'm not creating content specifically for TikTok and specifically for Instagram and specifically for YouTube Shorts, because that is a really quick way to burn out. The other platforms that I've added into my content creation planner here that I plan and create content for using this workflow are Patreon. Obviously, I do a deep dive in how I plan that in last week's video. So if you are someone who creates on Patreon or you're curious about starting a Patreon, I will link that video and you can go and do a little Patreon planning deep dive as well. I also use this template to plan my email newsletters, and this is really helpful for me when I am doing like a launch specifically, but also to remind me of email newsletters that I send out every week. Then I also have my blog, Pinterest and LinkedIn. At the moment, my blog, Pinterest, and LinkedIn have not been areas of my content that I've really been actively focusing on. Especially in this last quarter, I was really focusing on getting consistent with short form content and experimenting with more short form video content. But in Q2, I would definitely like to start creating more blog content and also creating content for Pinterest that isn't just the automatic reposts of my Instagram content. So let's see how we go with planning that in Q2. You can add to these filters by editing the properties. So if you are using this planner and you post on different platforms, you can go into the properties and just go to the platform one and click this little arrow and it'll show you all of the current tags. You can click the plus to create a new option. You can click the arrow beside any of the current options to change the color, change the name, or also delete them if they're things that you don't use. This template is fully customizable and I will be letting you know at the end of the video where you can get your hands on it. The same with the content type. If you don't like the filters that I've put in for the content type, you can go over here, click on properties, click on content type, and then change, remove, or add extra content types that fit more your way of thinking about your content. The last part of my content planner is something new that I have added to my workflow in 2025, and that is my content idea bank. At the moment, again, this is a little bit sparse because I haven't really sat down for my April content planning day. So the way my workflow works is when I sit down at the start of the month to plan, like to do my big content planning day, the first thing that I do when I am doing this big content planning is I get out my phone and I have a look at my saved posts on Instagram. So what I have done is I have a folder in my saved posts called content creation ideas. In there, I will save like reels or carousels I've seen other creators do that I think are really interesting or really creative, or things that I could put my twist on. Then I'll come in here to my content idea bank and I will add my idea for that piece of content into this list by clicking to create a new page. I can add the content title and then I can add some tags to it, like what type of content it is. And I can also paste in the link to that example that I've saved so that if I'm putting this idea bank together to come back to later, I can then click on that link later if I've forgotten what the idea is. I've added a couple of other tags and filters to this. At the moment, as I said, my bank is looking a little bit empty because it's the end of the quarter / start of the new quarter. But as I'm filling this out, usually there's a lot more ideas in it. And so when I'm stuck for ideas, what I can do is filter it by a couple of different things to help me figure out what I want to post. The first thing that I filter it by are tags. In this little column here, I've added tags, and when you click on it, you get a list of tag ideas. Again, if these tags don't fit the kind of content that you create, you can edit them and add your own tags or delete any of the tags that aren't relevant. But these are the general tags for the content that I create. So we've got lifestyle, review, slice of life, small business diaries, studio vlogs, and tutorials. These are the kind of content buckets, some people call them, or content pillars are another name that you might hear, but the different topics that my content currently fits into. So when I save an idea to the idea bank, I think about which one of these tags that it might fit. So you can see some of these examples up here, like things in my studio that just make sense. I would fit that into like lifestyle or slice of life. Then when I am stuck for an idea and I'm thinking, oh, I'd really like to create like a short form video this week that is like a lifestyle video, I'll go to my filters and I'll click on tags and I'll select lifestyle. And now on my list, it will only show me the content ideas that I've collected that have a lifestyle tag. So if you're collecting a lot of ideas and filling out this idea bank over time, then you can filter it down and narrow your searches a little bit when you're stuck for ideas. The second filter that I've added in here, and by the way, you can use these filters at the same time, but I'm just gonna go back and remove the tag filter because I don't have enough ideas in here right now to double filter it. But the other way that you might want to search your idea bank is like, oh, I'm really stuck for an idea for a carousel or a reel. Then you can click on content type. You can then click what type of content you want to create this week. I'm going to select carousel. and then it will filter the list down by the content ideas that you have tagged as carousels. The final really helpful thing about the content idea bank is that it isn't something that just sits here as a list of ideas. It's very usable, not just because you can filter it to find what you're looking for, but because you can actually drag and drop your ideas into your content planner. So let's just say I have decided that this week I want to create a reel of things that just make sense in my studio. I can grab this little idea here by the 6 dots on the left-hand side, and I can drag it over to my calendar. And today's the 2nd. Let's say I'm going to post this on Instagram on Saturday. So I'll hover the idea over the Saturday box where it's highlighted blue, and then I'm just going to let go to drop it. So I can click on it to open it up and make sure I've correctly filled out all of the information. So for the platform, I am going to select Instagram. I'm going to make it a reel, and the tags now are not visible on our calendar, but we still see that they are in there. Also, if you have a piece of content that maybe you planned and you're like, oh, I didn't get a chance to create that, I don't want to forget about the idea though, you can drag it from your calendar down into your idea bank, and it will bring any of the information that you already added to it in the calendar down to the idea bank, and then you can go ahead and maybe like add in the tags. The last thing that I wanted to show you is the status filters, because I find these really helpful for my content workflow, especially because I repurpose across different places. So let's again take that example of Instagram and TikTok, where I tend to like create a piece of content and then share it on the opposite platform the next day. So you can see I've already got some different flip filters set on my videos here. So most of these have not started, but if you click on the idea or the content title and open up your side peek here, you can change the status of your content. So there's a few different statuses that I have given my content. In progress is usually the status that I set it when I have maybe like recorded the video, but I haven't edited it yet. Drafted is when I have edited it and I've saved it either as a draft ready to post in the platform or in my camera roll that I just have to pull it from my camera roll ready to post. Some platforms allow you to schedule posts. So if you can schedule it, and if I have scheduled it, I will highlight it as scheduled. And then the last status is complete. I tend to not really use complete because normally when I've completed a piece of content, I will either highlight it and delete it from the planner, or if it's an idea that I want to add back into my idea bank, I will drag it from the calendar down into the idea bank. But if you're someone who likes to see like the ticks on the to-do list getting done, it is really fun to highlight the status as complete. So as you move through the week, you can see all of your content getting posted and getting done, and it feels like a little small win. So that is my 2025 Notion content planning workflow. So I've personally found this workflow has really helped me show up more on all of the different spaces in this first quarter of the year and get that consistency and cohesiveness across all the different spaces that I show up. And if you want to use this template as well, you can. I have put a link in the description under this video where you can download this Notion content planner from my Patreon shop. So if you want to get consistent with your content this year, you can check out the link in the description under this video to go and grab this template for yourself and use it to plan your own content. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to click that thumbs up button. And if you haven't done so already, go ahead and click subscribe to join the growing creative community here on YouTube. If you have any questions about planning content across different platforms, because I know that every time I bring up this topic, there are so many of you that have questions about how do I create content or where do I come up with my ideas or any other questions like that, you can leave them in the comments under this video. If you want to just chat about creative content, please head down to the comments. I love to chat content creation and inspiration. If you've been struggling with your content lately, I totally get it. I definitely have moments where I feel super confident with my content and moments where I really, really struggle. So if you want to chat, head down to the comments and let's talk about your creative content plan for this next quarter of 2025. That is all from this video. I hope that you found it useful and inspirational and it's got your creative juices flowing, and I will see you guys in the comments and I will see you in the next video.